So to start with, I would have Seesaw opened, and I would also have your slideshow open. And there's a couple of options. You can do screenshots if you prefer to work with photos. So if I'm going to do a screenshot on my MacBook, it's Command Shift and 5, and I get a box, a window that I can select and change the size of. I can also choose where that screenshot is saved. So on mine, I have this extra window down here that lets me choose where it goes, and mine is going to go in my documents. There's not a timer. It's going to go ahead and capture that image and save it to my documents. And so I would screenshot each page and save them all in the same place. Sometimes I prefer to work with photos. For instance, in this one, I don't want the actual circles. I'm just going to get the page that has the map on it. And on this page, I moved your video, or the video that was on here, I moved it off to the side because I'm going to add that later once I make the Seesaw page. So now I have 5 screenshots, one for each page of this slideshow. The other option, if you don't prefer to work with screenshots, is that you can do an export as a PDF, and you do that with print. So let me see if I can get it to come up. I got to get down to the bottom where I can choose print. And then instead of printing, when it comes up with the preview, I'm going to save it as a PDF. I'm going to put 1 slide per sheet. So each of these is a full sheet of paper, and it is going to save it as a PDF. So it's not actually going to print. It's just going to save it, and I can rename it. And also it helps to know where it's going. Mine is going to go into my documents. So there's 2 different ways to bring the images into Seesaw. Now when I'm in my Seesaw account, I'm going to go to Activities, and I'm going to start to create an activity from scratch. So creating a new activity, I'm just going to call it at this point All About Maps. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with how to create activities, so I'm going to go through a lot of stuff, but if you already know some of it, feel free to skip. I'm getting ready to work on the student template, and some teachers have been getting confused between this multimedia instruction or example and the student template. This is part of the directions. So I would type my directions up here, and this is where I would put a link to a website all outside of what the students would see. This would be part of the directions. Down here is where I want to load all the images that I just collected in what's called a student template. So in my documents, I have, starting this evening, 5 screenshots, and I can pick all 5, and they would come in as images. They don't always come in order, so sometimes I have to move them to the correct order by using these arrows. Pretty sure this one was last. And then this one came before the map. But if I get confused, I can switch back to your slideshow. And I did that wrong, so let me go back and try it again. This one comes first, then the video. So once I get them in the order I want, I hit the green check mark. The other option would be, if I use the PDF, I don't have to bring in each image separately. I can select from my computer the entire PDF, and they will come in, and it puts one on each page, and it does put them in order, full size. Usually when they come in, they are already locked. So if I want to move something around, I would have to unlock it. Quite often, I will move the images over so that I have room for directions on the side, and then I will lock them again if I can figure out where the lock is. There it is. Lock it in place. This page is supposed to be a video. So if it were a video, I would go back to your slideshow, and I would click on the video, and I would have that video open so I can get the URL. Unfortunately, this video is no longer there. So I'm going to go back out. It doesn't take me to anything on YouTube, and I tried to do a search called the map song in YouTube, and it did not come up. Let me try the other video that's listed, which is listen to the song. Okay, and I'm going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to click here and copy that address. So then back in my slideshow, in my Seesaw activity, on the page that I want, where I want the show to appear, where I want the story to appear, it's right here is the image. I'm going to go ahead and click on insert a link and paste in the link. If the link works correctly, it will come in with another image, and it's usually the same image that's there, and all I do is cover that other one up and make it larger. Now I might want to, once again, unlock this image on the bottom, if I can, and move it over to the left so that I have room for directions. Lock it back in place, put the link on top, and that link appears here. And I do want to lock that in place as well. This page, I needed circles. They're supposed to find these images and put a circle around them on the map. So I'm going to have to insert some shapes. But once again, first let me unlock and slide this over, and then lock it back in place. I want a shape. I want it to be empty. Circle. And when I put the circle in, I can decide what I want it to look like. And on your directions, the circles were red. So I want to figure out how big to make that circle. So that they can move it from here over to where it's at on the map, where they find those locations. Maybe just a little bit larger. And then I'm going to put them down here. What a lot of people do is they will just duplicate. They'll make it and then they'll duplicate, and we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to duplicate 6 times. And then they stack them up on top of each other. So I got to get to the bottom one. And if I do it right, you won't know there's 6 circles there. You'll just keep taking a circle off the pile and the other circles will stay. And that saves room on the page. But each of those circles is still there when they use their move tool. They'll be able to take one and put it around the shape. Okay. So my map is locked in place. I have my circles on the side. Here, I'm not going to put an image or a video like there was on the original, because this original video is showing them how to make a copy of this slide and actually draw on the slide. And we're going to, since we're using Seesaw, they don't need that video. They're going to just draw right on the slide. So once again, unlock and slide this over to give me room for some directions. Now, one of the things that is new with the features that we have in the newest update that came sometime this summer is that you can record on multiple pages in the slideshow. At this point, I'm going to take this page out, or I'll just leave it without directions, and whoever uses it might want to add the video later. if you have access to that video. I don't know where to find it, so I can't make a link here. There are a couple of other map songs that you could pick from YouTube, so if you wanted to, you could go to YouTube and find one. This one, go back to YouTube. There's Dora the Explorer. I'm going to insert a hyperlink, and it should come in with an image. And so I would cover up the image that's there and lock it in place. Now, how do I get my directions in? So on here, I'm going to add some directions. I usually make my directions a little bit of a different color. And then I'm going to go and add screenshots I've taken earlier. And they are supposed to use the, gotta figure out where it's at, paper clip, which I am not seeing. Okay, so if I can't find it and I didn't save it correctly, I go back to do a search and I'm looking for Seesaw shortcuts. Quite often I have it saved. I'm pretty sure it's the second one here that comes right from the Seesaw page, not Pinterest. Sorry. I want this one. It's an article about how to use Seesaw shortcuts. And down here, I am looking for a picture of this tiny little paper clip. So once again, I'm going to do Command-Shift-5 or Command-Shift-4 to get this image. And I'm going to save it. And then I can add it to my directions. Upload from my documents the last screenshot I took, which comes right now. Make it smaller and put it over here with my directions. If I want to get real fancy, I can add an arrow shape and aim it towards where that actual arrow is going to be. Sometimes I get a little too picky, sorry. And once again, keep the kids from messing it up. I'll lock it in place. Okay, another thing that I like to do, I learned from my daughter, and that is to add a giant sound icon picture. And I'm going to use this one on an extra page at the end that I'm not going to have anything on except that sound image. On my directions page, quite often, I use one of my phones to take a picture of the directions because I don't want to record my directions on this page. If I record this page and read my directions, it's going to capture this image. And what I want is just an image of just a speaker. So I'm going to turn this on and record. Click on the link to the left of the image for the Map Features song to view a video that will help you learn about 5 features usually found on maps: titles, borders, compass rose, key, and scale. Once I save that recording. It's on top of the page that was there originally, and it can be moved around and made smaller. So I just pull it down a little bit, catch those handles, and make this tiny little icon that is actually my recording. Command C copies that little image when it has handles on it, and I go back to my page, and Command V pastes it on the page. So quite often I put my video or my audio directions in the same place so the kids get used to finding them. So there's an image. I would do the same thing for each of the pages that I was working on. I can do a lot of copying and pasting. For instance, the directions on this page would be very similar to the directions on this page. I would just change the wording. So I'm going to pause my video and add some more directions, doing the same thing I just demonstrated. Okay, I've been working for a little while and I'm ready to record the last direction I have. So here's a recording I've already made for page 4. All I do is click on it and delete, and then I'm ready to record again for page 5. Use the pen, pencil, eraser, and label tool to draw a map of your classroom. If you would rather have more space to work, draw your map on page 6 of this Seesaw activity, and then you can use the camera tool to take a photo of your drawing and add the image here. Try to add some of the features that we learned about while studying maps. My recording is finished. Once again, I'm going to use my move tool to catch the edge and make it smaller. And then take this small icon with my recording attached and place it on page 5 where those directions match. And of course, my directions aren't perfect. You're probably going to want to erase my directions and record again in your own voice when you make this into an activity for your own class. Then I'm finished with all my recordings, so I don't need this small recording, and I also don't need this giant image. I want to leave page 6 blank in case the students want to have a big empty page to work on. I don't need these directions and this here where I'm asking them to draw and add a picture of their map small. So what I can do to cover that up is just to add a large rectangle, hopefully, and I'm going to make it white. And hopefully it will cover, whoops, I got 2 rectangles, all of the stuff in that box. I'll get rid of the blue rectangle I added accidentally and lock this in place. And now the page is ready for students to work. So hopefully that answers your questions about how to take one of your slideshows and turn it into a Seesaw activity. If I can be more help, just let me know.